Welcome back, everyone. How did you like the film? And so our guest today needs a little introduction after seeing Tangerine, but so you know of some of her upcoming projects. Mya Taylor was born and raised in Houston, Texas. She is best known for her role as Alexandra in Sean Baker's award-winning film Tangerine, for which she won a 2016 Independent Spirit Award for Best Supporting Actress, and was recognized as the first transgender actor to win a major award. In addition, her performance earned her the 2015 Gotham Award for Breakthrough Actor and the San Francisco Film Critics Award for Best Supporting Actress. Mya has also starred in the short film Happy Birthday, Marsha, which we'll talk about, and the upcoming short Diane from the Moon. She is currently developing an autobiographical television project. So please join me in welcoming one of the stars of Tangerine, our special guest, Mya Taylor.
Wait a minute. Wait. I heard Keith say, how did you like the film? I want to hear some applause up in here.
Let's hear it. It's a little better.
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah. And so
It made me scared to come out.
thank you so much for coming here to Toronto and joining us. We're so happy to have you here. It's Pride Month here in Toronto, and we're really happy to show such incredible films. And want to talk about the incredible year and a bit you've been having since the film premiered at Sundance last January, and about some of the upcoming projects. And first, maybe going a bit back to Tangerine, and I, it's been well written that, you met Sean Baker at the LGBT Center in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
You've done a lot of interviews about it. And so you've been traveling with the film now for a long time and have spoken about it. After all this time, what does it feel like to think about those early days of creation, and what feelings do you have about that kind of time in your life?
It was a very special moment because I was going through a lot of stuff at that time. I had just applied for 186 jobs and I did 26 interviews all in 1 month, and I could not get a job. But, the spiritual side of me said, okay, well, God had something else planned for you, bitch. Yeah, obviously, I'm here and I don't need those funky ass jobs.
And what was planned for you was, Tangerine. And
Yeah, Tangerine, and then Happy Birthday, Marsha, and then Diane from the Moon, and then Viva Diva, and now another film, and a song, and maybe even a TV show.
It's amazing. And the song that you're creating, when can we expect that?
Yeah, my writer is Kenneth Mogan, who actually is an artist himself, and we collaborated on this song called Tease Me, Please Me. Yeah. But it's not as naughty as what you may think. My idols are Toni Braxton, Tamar Braxton, Celine Dion. And anybody knows Toni, that when she sings, it's very seductive and very sexy. It could be any song. Like, what's that song that she did? I Heart You. It was a very poppy song, but her voice is so seductive. And I guess that's kind of where I get a lot of my singing style, too. So that's why we did it with Tease Me, Please Me. But I think you're going to love it. Now, the video, I don't know how that's going to be.
Have you shot it yet, or is that...
No. No, we're still planning. I need the song to be perfect, because if you're going to come out and say that you can sing, the microscope is on you. So it needs to be perfect. And I don't need a flop.
And have you always been singing? Have you always wanted to be an entertainer? Was something that you did as a kid? Yeah.
Singing is something that I've done over acting for years and years. When I did Tangerine, I had no acting lessons at all, but I knew that I wanted to do it. I mean, I felt like acting isn't hard. And I went up, and it came natural to me after I read the script and everything. I learned that you had to take your full self out of the equation and be like, okay, well, how would she handle this situation? And that's just what I've been doing ever since then.
And so being kind of thrust into that creative process with Sean and with Chris, you were integral to the story and how it was told, and moments that happened to you or that you saw happen to other people, and what was it like to sit with them and craft the story and work together on bringing Tangerine to the screen?
It was actually pretty fun to sit and talk about my life experiences and what I had seen, because I'm always very, very open about everything because there's nothing to hide. I'm grown. What the fuck I got to hide? What you gonna do to me? So like the scene where you see her get piss thrown on her. I've seen that before. At the time, it was a girl that I didn't like named Miss Kenya, and she used to come down to my little block because I used to do sex work too. But she used to come down to my block and bitch, get off my corner, girl. You're trying to take my dates. So I saw somebody driving by and they threw like a bottle of piss out at her and just threw it on her, and it was disgusting. And then I saw it again, but it was with like some eggs. Yeah, but there were people I didn't like, so I didn't care. Yeah.
And so that story you just told, something really dark and potentially really sad, but...
It is really sad, if it happened to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where the, humor is so important, right?
Yeah.
And so I know you were insistent that above all, this film be funny and that audiences were here laughing. And why is comedy so essential to entertainment for you?
Well, because I feel like people can relate to comedy more. It'll make you want to watch the film more and more and more. Like, you remember what I was telling you about earlier with Sex and the City?
Yeah.
You want to fuck.
Sorry, what?
Let's fuck. You remember, like, that's what Samantha said, like, in Sex and the City. But, it's funny. It makes you want to watch the shit over and over and over again. You don't want to see something that's sad and depressing. Like, she was in a Pilates class with a whole bunch of people, and she looked over at this hot guy, kind of like this one, and she was like,
I'm blushing for sure.
Let's fuck. And he's like, what? Let's fuck. And then they went to go fuck. But like, you remember stuff like that. So yeah, I just wanted it to be very memorable. I didn't want the whole thing to just be sad.
I think we'll all remember that moment.
Yeah.
We'll rewind it and then watch it again. Yeah. And there's a scene which to me is my favorite scene in Tangerine, which is you singing Toyland in the nightclub.
Oh.
And it's so representative, I think, of your performance, and it's honest and it's vulnerable, and it's about friendship. That moment, what was it like? How did that scene come to be, and how did you get to that performance?
I told Sean that I wanted to do a song in the movie. And the reason why is because I wanted to showcase the fact that I could actually sing. There was no lip syncing, okay? Like, she can sing. Like, there's some real throat here. But I wanted to do a more powerful song. Maybe something from Tony or Whitney or something like that, because I have a 4-octave range and I can hit whistle notes. But he was like, well, it's going to cost us like $50,000 just to get one of their songs, and we just don't have it in the budget for that. Right. So I had a friend who knew Terrence Lee Jones. And anybody who knows Terrence Lee Jones is the vocal coach for all 5 of the Braxtons. And he came and he coached me for Toyland. And then I loved the song. Yeah.
It's an amazing scene.
Yeah.
And
I just hated the close-ups. It was so much makeup every single day, and my pores just looked like craters.
Well,
yeah.
And that's what I want to ask about, because there was a phrase in one of the interviews I read with you. You said, I needed to step out of my shades and present myself to the world.
Yeah.
And that scene, to me, feels like that's what you're doing, with the close-up and with...
Well, I was doing that too soon. But I had my insecurities when I first started my transition, because when I started this film is when I just started my transition. Obviously, I look a little bit different now. I look better. This is the new and improved Mya Taylor. Well, I just started hormones, so I could still see the masculinity in my face and my body. Everything just seemed hard and just unattractive to me. So I used to wear shades all the time, real big shades too, because I felt like my face wasn't soft. It wasn't feminine enough to present myself to the world. And getting clocked, meaning getting figured out by people, it kind of takes you back, and it's a very emotional thing when somebody's like, that's a man. Or, like when people do stuff like that. Like, it's easy for me to say, I don't care about what people say. But when somebody says something that hurts your feelings, it hurts your feelings. Mm-hmm. So, to shield myself from that, I would wear shades, and I'd always wear wraps and things. Well, today this is on just for fashion. These arms I'm soft, best believe. But today this is on just for fashion. No insecurities here. But I used to wear like jackets and stuff because I felt like my arms were too big. Hello, you just saw that. I just felt like, have anybody ever seen Tu Wong Fu? Yes, with Wesley Snipes and Patrick Swayze, and I just felt like I looked like Miss Noxzema. So, I was insecure, and I finally had to come out of that. Well, at least I'm honest. Read yourself before somebody else reads you.
And of course, the film was shot on an iPhone, which I think most people know. And did that afford any opportunity for a more kind of anonymous shoot? Did people know that you were shooting when Sean and the crew and yourselves were out in LA?
Sometimes people would figure it out, and then they'd come over and bug, like, can I be in the movie? Like, right in the middle of the fucking shot, like, while I'm sitting up here doing stuff. Then they just come over, and they're all up in the way. Or the fact that we didn't have Donut Time locked down, but we were able to shoot in it without interfering with the business. And sometimes we'd have to get shots from different angles. And let's say we're doing like this one scene where we're sitting here talking and eating a donut or whatever, and then we have to do it from a different angle, but then somebody comes in and they sit there, and it messes up continuity because they weren't there before. And then we have to wait until they're done eating and reading their fucking paper. And, it was too much. It was too much.com. Mm-hmm.
So there were limitations then with the whole iPhone type thing. Does it change your performance at all? Shooting, because the other projects you've done, either big camera setup versus the iPhone, does it affect you as an actress at all?
Not at all. Because let's say this is a camera sitting here. It's the new and improved camera from Aquafina. And let's just say that this is sitting here. It doesn't affect me because while I'm talking to my focal point, I'm not supposed to be looking at the camera anyway. So it doesn't matter whether it's a banana or a water bottle or an iPhone or a big red camera, what those cameras are called, the $50,000 ones.
That was great product placement, by the way. Aquafina. And the other scene that I wanted to mention, which is the scene in the laundromat, which a very vulnerable moment when you take off your wig and give it to Cindy. How does it feel to have those scenes, at least for me, really resonated, and you feel something in those moments that you're shooting that and doing your work in front of a camera, and that resonates for audiences across the globe, or people here who see that for the first time and feel something about what you're doing on screen. How does that feel?
No shade. But during the filming of that scene, we actually didn't want to do that to begin with, but I was like, okay, this is our work now. This is what we're doing. So the director knows what's going to be good. So let's just listen to him. And because at that time, it was 22 inches. But I didn't take off my hair for nobody. Even though I have hair underneath this wig and it looks like this wig, I just didn't feel like doing my own hair today. But when you see the New York Times shoot, that's my hair. Mm-hmm. But she took off her wig, no shade, and I just started laughing. I don't know, like, if you pay really close attention, like, you probably can see the smirk in my face because, like, we had to wrap that scene. Miss Thing's hair was about this thin. So, I couldn't get that out of my head. That was the hardest scene to shoot because I couldn't stop laughing. Mm-hmm. I was like, bitch, you look like a bald duck. So, but no shade, because I love her. But, yes, but I adore her. But I thought it was a very sweet scene.
Right.
In real life, me personally, that ain't gonna happen, boo. You got to go get you some hair, girl, because I ain't taking mine off. And then I had them nappy-ass braids underneath there and everything. I did not want to do that scene, but I did it for them. You know what? That was like the hardest thing for me to do, and I did it.
I think we can all agree it's an incredible scene.
Yeah.
And so having gone through playing Alexandra and Tangerine and now other films, are there things you know about acting and performance now that you didn't know when you first started out? Things you would tell yourself now about being on camera or being on screen? Or
No, I guess because I've always been pretty much a quick learner, but I think like when it comes to acting now, there's nothing really changed about my style. Like all the different films that I've done are all different from each other in very big ways. And it just made me explore more of my talent. But I guess like maybe ask me this question in another 5 years.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and do you rehearse much? Do you prep much? What's your process?
I do a lot of auditions and everything. And plus, I'm humorous all the time. Like right now, we're practicing.
Yeah.
So.
And so then, turning from Tangerine, what are your goals now? What kind of roles and would you like to be playing? What kind of films do you want to be in? And are those roles that you're currently going out for and being up for?
I personally don't get my my own auditions ready. My manager does, and to keep from fighting with him, I just do the auditions. But I would love to do like a scary movie or something romantic with a man, because the last films that I've just done, Diane from the Moon, I was lesbian. Viva Diva, I was lesbian, and I had to kiss a girl. And have you ever like, if there's any like gay or bisexual people or transgender people in this room, have you ever had somebody be like, well, have you ever tried this over here? You don't know what you're missing. I know what I'm missing, okay? And that's just not for me. So, you know, at least I can easily say, I've tried this, and it's just not for me. So, yeah, I learned that.
And so in the film industry, there's been a lot of talk recently about diversity and inclusion. You know, a lot of discussion about it. Do you think that talk is moving into action in any way? Have you seen opportunities for trans performers increase at all? Are you seeing that movement?
You know, honestly, I'd have to say, no shade, not enough. It just hasn't happened enough. Like, so okay, everybody else agrees with me. I'm glad about that, because like, where's the other trans-related films, and where's all the other films with trans people starring in them and stuff? Was Tangerine the last one? No, hell no. No, because I'm still here and I'm going to make something that's going to be all trans cast. Yeah. But I just feel like in order to move to the next step, we're going to have to make our own shit. Because like time is money and money is time. I can't sit around and wait for a director or producer to hire me for something else. I don't wait on anybody. So, yeah.
So we need to make the project.
Make our own shit.
Yeah. And that's for young, filmmakers, content creators here in the audience. It's working to make the stories that you want to tell. Don't
be scared. Go out there and do the footwork and make it happen.
Yeah. And so do you see film as being an agent of change? Do you think positive representations of LGBT people on screen can help create change in everyday reality?
Now we're talking. How I really feel about that is, true enough, you can have all these great, just amazing films that have amazing messages and everything, but the way society is, it's hard to change somebody's mind of how they are. Okay, think about the harassment and stuff that transgender people go through for no reason. I was looking at this one YouTube video of this trans woman. I think she was Chinese, Asian, something like that. And she was sitting here, she was recording. She was recording this woman just harassing her across the way on the train. Like, she was like sitting like right here. And she was like, what the fuck am I going to do with you? Like, what do we do with you? What do we call you? You're just a man dressed in women's products. And, I don't trust you around my kids, which there were no kids in sight. And, she's just going off on this woman. And the woman sitting here in this position, the transgender woman, she obviously, she couldn't fight because, you know, she didn't defend herself or anything, but the woman got up and she just started beating up on her. And I'm looking around, I'm watching the whole video, nobody's helping her at all. So, you know, it's stuff like that that bothers me. It really just fucking bothers me because I hate bullies. If I was there, I would have rang her alarm like Beyonce said. So, you know, it's, I don't know, people just choose to be hateful. That's all that it is. It's kind of like history repeating itself.
Right.
I hate to bring this up because my man is white, but you remember back then when we were all segregated and everything and blacks couldn't use the whites' restrooms and stuff like that? That's what it kind of feels like with transgender people nowadays. History repeating itself. What do we do about that?
It's a big question.
Can anybody in here answer me that? Any hands? No hands? You up there? Tell me, what can we do?
Where shall I start? Hi.
Hi.
Glad I got to see the film. First of all, be your true, authentic self. Don't be brave, be fearless, and be your true, authentic self. Secondly, make no apologies for doing that. Thirdly, change legislation so that the rest of the society understands what it's like for us to be our true, authentic selves. Then there's a lot of training and education that's required to bring those laws into action in everyday lives. Then we need to feed hungry people, and we need to house homeless people. And seeing the part about justice and social justice, and we need to all be agents of change. And we need some help to do that. So we need allies, and we need support. And you continue to make films so that we're represented in the media, so that young people growing up will see themselves represented in mainstream media. And as for the water, well, that's another topic altogether. Thanks.
She's right. She's right. Perfectly right.
Yeah. And so, in addition to being an actress and a singer, you're also an advocate.
Yes.
And you know, you're speaking at universities and colleges and public events, and you work with Out Media, which is a fantastic organization promoting, you know, positive visibility for LGBTQ people. What does it mean to you to be an advocate, and how do you approach that role?
Let me find a way to redirect this. When I won the Spirit Award, it made history. You know, being the first trans woman, being the first trans woman to win a big film award. And they asked me, so what does this mean to you to win this award? True enough, it shows that I accomplished something. But it also shows trans women that, okay, look where I came from. I used to sell my body on Santa Monica and Highland. I've always been this classy and this good looking. But I used to sell my body on Santa Monica and Highland, and now I've won this award and everything. I'm living the life that I've always wanted to live. So it lets everybody know that this is possible. You just got to find your way through it. So that's what it means to me.
And speaking your truth. And
Yeah, just speaking your truth.
And so, as an advocate, what are the issues facing trans people that you most want people to know about that might not know about them?
Employment. I think everybody knows about that, because the reason why I did sex work was because I did not get a job. Let me sit up. Okay. So I had applied for 121 jobs the first month. The second month, 146 jobs. And the last month, 186 jobs. I did 26 interviews in 1 month. And I had a system of how I was applying for these jobs. I was doing at least 44 applications a day. and I had a system of how I was doing it. Now, I signed Mya Taylor on there, even though my ID and gender wasn't changed at the time. And I'd send all the employers a picture of me, which I looked like a girl, I was very presentable. Then I go in, and then I have my interview, and then they'd like me. And then they'd say, oh, well, I want to do a background check on you. And anybody who knows when you're getting a job, if they say I want to do a background check, that means they want to hire you. By the time I hand over all of my legal information, I start getting the runarounds. And that's why I could not get a job. I even found people discriminating against me. I didn't sue because I just wanted to get a job. I'd find myself sitting at the bus stop and getting ready to go out on my interviews, and then I was living in LA, I'd see the people passing in their Audis and their Jags and Mercedes, and they're going to work, or they're going to the store to go shop for their family, or they're going home to their family. But I was sleeping on my friend's floor, struggling, trying really, really hard to get a job, and I just could not do it for the life of me. And then I got the chance to do a movie. And, now I'm not hurting for money, especially thanks to Shelley Weiss from Out Media. I drive a $55,000 Jaguar that's paid for, and I live in a huge luxury apartment, and I have 3 stepkids and a man that loves me. That's a big turnaround.
And so we'll want to open it up to your questions, because I'm sure you have them of Mya. While you're thinking on those, we'll get the microphones circulating. I do want to ask, you're playing Marsha P. Johnson in Happy Birthday, Marsha.
That's my most exciting role.
Yeah, and so what does it feel like to play such an important figure?
I first signed to do Happy Birthday, Marsha, 'cause I didn't know anything about Marsha, sadly. Well, I guess because, I'm so young and everything. She was killed I believe she was killed. I don't believe it was a suicide. Anybody in here know about Marsha? Yeah, I don't believe it was a suicide. The police, they just didn't care because she was transgender. She was killed in 1992. And one thing I learned about her that attracted me to the role was that Marsha, she lived a very hard life. She was prostituting. She would spend her last money on going to the store and getting like a bag of cookies. And before she got home, all the cookies were gone because she passed it out to all the homeless people. And that's what touched me for the role. So that's why I took on the role. Just because of that alone. Yeah. And then, Marsha, she wore all this heavy, colorful makeup and the big wigs and the flowers, and she didn't care about what people had to say about her. And she was always uplifting everyone else. So that's what I loved about Marsha.
And
sounds like my man.
And so is there any update on maybe when we might be able to see the film, or when it might be released?
The last time I talked to the directors, they said it'll probably be out at the end of this year or the beginning of 2017.
Okay. Well, we will look for it and keep an eye on.
Yeah, I don't know what's taking so long, but don't get me talking about that.
So your questions. We have 2 microphones in the audience. Please throw your hand up, and we'll get you a microphone to ask a question to Mya. First question on this side.
Because I love the movie, but there's one thing that nags me every time that I watch this, and I'm just wondering why you think Cindy thinks that it's necessary to drag Razmik and out him in front of his wife when he's been so nice to them. And do you think it was selfish of her?
I don't know, because I didn't write it. But I personally wouldn't have done that. If that makes you feel any better. Just like me. Don't like Cindy. Just like me.
Cindy's not here. Over this side.
Yeah, I'm really thankful that you're here with us today, because it's the second time I've seen this movie and it just gets even better and better. But one of the things that really struck out to me this time around is the theme of sisterhood, and both between trans women and cis women. The scene in the laundromat and the scene where Cindy and Dinah are in the bathroom and they're doing their makeup, that was just a very pure moment of emotion with a trans woman in film that we really never see because the stories of trans women are never really portrayed in cinema. And now I feel like by the work of people like you and Laverne Cox, we're seeing a different side of trans cinema that involves the actual stories of trans women. So I want to know your opinion on how this shapes the future of your career as a trans woman in cinema, how you are planning maybe on bringing your vision of your reality and your story and your experiences and that of your friends into this world, because we're so used to seeing a biased and offensive and tokenistic image of trans women. So if you could give me your vision and your opinion, I would really appreciate it.
Exactly. I have 2 TV show ideas. I'm talking to 2 different agencies about them. Now, one of them would be very loosely based on my own life and experiences. And then one of them would be a very dramatized version of Sex and the City, but only with trans women and how they're dating and living life and owning businesses and stuff. But that one's still in the plans. But yeah.
Down here, over this side.
Hi. You mentioned earlier a little bit about, like, well, you touched on it about being clocked and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my question was, I find that a lot of trans people that I come across, they're worried about their clockability, and they spend a lot of money and time working towards getting surgeries and paying for hormones and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask your opinions on how do you feel about the pressures that within the trans community on moving away from being, you know, the beginning of, like, rushing their transitions, I would say, maybe, like, or, you know, like.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Some trans women come to my inbox all the time on Facebook and they ask me, you know, they're starting their transition, what do they do and everything. I simply say, for me personally, I haven't had any surgeries done. This is all hormones. So, yeah, but I'm fat. I also feel like we're not transitioning to try not to get clocked. We're transitioning to live our life. And I mean, it's easy for me to say that, but my personal goal was to be as passable as possible. And I hate to say it, but I've missed a big part of my transition just by focusing on that. So, you know, if I had to give advice to another trans woman, I'd easily sit and say, don't think about what other people say or do or whatever. Just take your hormones, live as healthy, and try to live as happy as possible. And it's easy for me to say that. But, you know, because I didn't even follow my own advice on that. Let me tell you what I did when I transitioned. I had a lot of muscle in my arms and everything. I felt like my body and my face was hard. So I stayed away from exercising and I took an excess amount of hormones. And it has been very, very hard on my body because I can't even run from here to that stair because it's very hard on me. It makes it to where I'm very tired and I feel like I'm about to pass out because I just ran. So what I did was I didn't exercise, I didn't run or anything. I just ate all the most unhealthy foods because I wanted that Beyonce body. You know, she's soft and she's curvy and still ain't got that, but she's soft and she's curvy and everything. I just wanted to be soft. So, you know, I kind of rushed my transition by taking an excess amount of hormones and eating all these unhealthy foods and not exercising because I felt like if I exercised, my muscle would never go anywhere. It makes sense, doesn't it? But you know that it's stupid. Because look at me now. I can't even run a lap. I can't even wrestle with my stepkids. But yeah. Next question, get me out of my insecurities.
Question down here in the front, if we can get a microphone down. Does anyone have a microphone currently?
Yes, hi Maya. Great movie. Just my question is, what was one of the most major motivational factors for you to take on this role for Tangerine?
The most motivational, okay, wanting to not be broke. That was the most motivational thing. I'm just keeping it 100.
Did Sean have to convince you at all?
No.
No.
No, because I wasn't doing anything else other than trying to get a job. And I was like, oh, well, here's a good opportunity to actually do something. We don't know if it's going to do anything, but at least I'm doing something. Yeah. And I'm glad that I did it, and I'm glad I put my all into it because I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah. Question there in the back?
Wow, this is loud. I just wanted to ask you, here in Canada, we kind of do face a little bit of privilege in that we feel like we grew up in a more accepting society, which has been amazing, and a lot of people, myself included in the queer community, feel more accepted. And I was just wondering what the biggest struggle you faced growing up, whatever in your home, what was that like for you, and what were the biggest struggles that you faced?
When I was growing up, I knew that I liked men, but I didn't know anything about transitioning. I do have a family member that's actually transgender, but I don't give her name or anything. I didn't know that she was transgender. I remember a long time ago when she used to be a boy, and then she went away for a long period of time, and she came back, and she was a gorgeous, gorgeous woman. But I didn't think anything of it. I was like 7 or 8 years old. So my grandmother, who I grew up with, she remarried to this other guy, and he knew that I was different, and he would beat me sometimes. And I'd be the kid that was scared to go home from school because I knew that he was going to bother me or do something to me. So that was the hardest part of me growing up, because I was always terrified of him. Like, I would stay inside my room all the time and do everything that I was told. And even when I did everything I was told, if my brother and sister got in trouble for anything, even if I wasn't involved or in the same room or even in the house at the time, we all got punished for it, because that's just how he wanted it. He was horrible. But one day when I was 16, he raised his hand to hit me, and he'll never do it again.
The microphone.
Hi. Okay, yes. Hi. Thanks so much. That was my first time watching the film after hearing a lot about it, and it was really amazing. I think part of what I appreciate about it and what I appreciate about you is that you're not just talking about your experiences as a trans woman, but also as a sex worker and a former sex worker. And I think we rarely get to see diverse representations of sex workers, especially street-based workers. Often, we see these like romanticized ideas of sex workers that are working out of fancy hotels and things like that. But I think this story is really true to the experiences of a lot of street-based workers. And
workflow.
Maybe you can talk a bit more about that. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, wait a minute, I just had a joke. You know all those people that like, they'll post like the stack of cash on their Facebook, but you never know how they got it. Now, what was your question? Give me a direct question. That's all I could think about when you were saying it.
I guess maybe you can talk about how you felt about this representation of sex workers in comparison to other film portrayals of sex workers that you've seen, and like how it felt for you as a former sex worker.
Well, I just feel like this is a more real version because, it's not all glamorized, because doing sex work is nothing glamorous about laying down with a different man every night. Now, me personally, I can personally say that I never sold ass. Everybody in this room, I never sold ass. I may have sold a little mouth every now and then, but not ass. That was a no-no. But it's not fun. And the way they make it seem on TV, like you're making all this money. True, the money is good, but it goes very, very fast. And it's a very, very dangerous, dangerous job to do. I never got comfortable with hopping in and out of cars. You know, for me, I think I was more scared of I was scared of the guys, but I was also scared that the police, because sometimes I'd have officers that I date. And sometimes if you don't do what they want, then they'll take you to jail. So, it's little things like that. And then also, the other girls on the streets, they'll see you getting out of a car and they'll go rob you. So, it's little things like that they don't put on the glamorized versions of sex work and everything, because there's nothing glamorous about it. Yes, that's the true tea.
And there's a question down here.
Hi, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I guess on the topic of advice to young trans people, I'm wondering you kind of provided a bit of advice for people at the start of their transition. So I'm wondering I think that's a particularly tricky time for a lot of trans people, because you're just realizing a lot of stuff about yourself, and you're wondering how to come out to your friends and your family. So I wonder in respect to that kind of being in that kind of transitionary and very much in flux period of your life, what kind of advice would you have for young trans people in navigating that?
For me personally, when I first started my transition, well, I didn't just start it. I went through therapy for a whole year because I wanted to make sure it was something that I wasn't going to try to be okay, well, I want to go back to being a boy. I mean, I don't expect for everybody to do that, but once you start growing these, they don't go away. They stay there, and you don't want to revert back to being a boy and have some titties. No, boo, that ain't gonna work. So, I did therapy for a whole year because I wanted to make sure that it's what I wanted to do. Then I hooked up with Dr. Olson, who is a big doctor in LA, and I still have her. And she provided my hormones and everything, and I was still going through therapy because I felt mental, because all the stuff I was going through. And yeah. But advice that I'd say to other trans women, go to therapy and everything. Make sure it's what you want to do. Get on your hormones, eat healthy, drink a lot of water. Hello.
Aquafina.
And a lot of fruits and vegetables and stuff, because you have to feed your body. In order to transition, you have to feed your body. Some people, they'd be like, well, I don't want to get fat. And it's true that you will get fat. Hello. So exercise and just feed your body healthy. That's all I can say.
Question here.
Hi. I was just wondering, so you're a person of color and you're also a member of the LGBTQ community. I was just wondering if those two identities ever come in odds with each other, and you feel that sometimes you have to be more of a African American, and then sometimes you have to switch back and then be a trans person.
No.
Maybe
I don't understand what you're saying. Give me an example.
Okay. So sometimes when, in the queer community, it's being a person of color, there's a lot of discrimination in that aspect. So I'm just wondering if you ever feel that those two come in odds with each other.
No, not at all. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know why it reminds me of this, but I talk to different people. I talk to African American people. I talk to Latina people. And some of the Latina trans girls, they'll say that the issues that they face comes from their own people. For me, the issues that I face come from my own people too. I've never been harassed or anything, but anytime I've ever had any issues, where somebody's that's a man or something like that, it's always a woman of color. I'm not saying all of them do that, but that's for me personally. I don't know why. I just do not know why. I guess it's we're all in competition with each other. I don't know. but Latino women say the same thing. And even like when I talk to some of my Caucasian girls, they'd be like, girl, she just clocked my tea. And I'll be like, okay. So yeah.
Time for one or two more questions. Does anyone have one? Just one down here in the front. Right here in the second row.
Hi there.
Hi.
It's so nice to have you here. I'm very excited, and I'm sure there's plenty of people here that are just as excited. My question is more related to Tangerine and the upcoming Happy Birthday, Marsha. I really, really, really enjoyed just like the time that the camera spends with you guys on the street, like walking, not really having any particular event happen or anything like that, but just sort of like living your life and trying to make it through the day. And I'm wondering if Happy Birthday, Marsha is sort of gonna try to pull those aspects of Tangerine into the film. And because I know that Marsha P. Johnson was also just trying to like get through the day and help as many people as she can in that day. And like the activities of STAR were also like very much committed to that type of thing. And I'm just wondering, I don't know if you can tell us anything about Happy Birthday, Marsha, and if there's any relation between the films.
There's no relation between the films, but Happy Birthday, Marsha, the way it was shot. See, I haven't seen the finished version yet, but I've seen like a small preview. So it's Marsha's birthday, and she invites her friends over to come and celebrate her birthday. She made this cake and everything, and nobody shows up for her birthday. So she decides to go down to the Stonewall Inn and celebrate her birthday there. You know, she was very upset, very sad, very heartbroken. And then the police come in to raid the Stonewall Inn. And in that process, her cake gets knocked down and everything. So, I'm pretty much giving you a summary of what's going to happen through the film, but not what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And then you see me act a fool. Yeah.
How did you prepare for that role? Did you meet people who knew her, friends, or?
I did.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did. And they were actually on the set while we were filming. They were like, this is so eerie, because they had me dressed and makeup exactly like Marsha. And Marsha sounds like this all the time, darling. So, they were like, it's so eerie. You sound just like her. And that just, it made my day. People who knew her from back then. So, yeah. And they were actually in the film too. Yeah, so I'm excited about it. I just wish it had hurry up and come out.
Yeah, us too. And Diane from the Moon and Viva Diva and your song. It has been a joy to have you here in Toronto, to see you up on the big screen, but also to hear you speak in person. Please join me in thanking Mya Taylor.